Welcome on into the Wolverine TV. I am Clayton Safey here with EJ Holland. We are brought to you by Lewis Jewelers. We are from thewolverine.com, so as always, check our content out over there. You can use the promo code BLUE60 to get access to all of our premium articles, get on our premium message board, interact with thousands of Michigan fans, get the insider scoops, stay up to date on all of it at thewolverine.com. Again, promo code BLUE60. We are going to break down the 5 most important visitors, official visitors this weekend for Michigan on Victor's Weekend. A little more of a high-profile visitor weekend here, the third weekend of visitors for Michigan here after the dead period was lifted June 1. So without further ado, let's start, EJ, with a guy that we talked quite a bit about, rightfully so. Will Johnson, 5-star Michigan cornerback commit. He was on campus last weekend, was able to hang out on an official visit with Miles Pollard, who's becoming a good buddy of his from Nashville, who was on his official visit, 4-star corner there, so trying to bring him into the fold, into the secondary there. But Will Johnson, always good for him to get on campus, and this time it's his official, getting everything paid for, getting the full red carpet treatment. Obviously nice to have him back in Ann Arbor if you're Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, with Will, it's just about, getting to spend time around some of the other guys in the class, getting to bond again with Cody Jones, who he's met in the past, Connor Jones, Marlon Klein, just all the other guys that'll be there, Tayshaun Trent, Devonte Miles, who he knows from just being in fellow in-state kids. So, yeah, I mean, coming out of an official to USC and a UV to Michigan, I think that getting him in for an official is just going to be important, not only for Will, but just for his parents as well. Obviously, Dion is extremely familiar with the program and played at Michigan, but his mom, I know, really wants to see more of the 40-year plan that Michigan really touts, more of the academic side. But I think this weekend can go a long way in making sure that Will Johnson is firmly committed and is still the leader of the class. Obviously, it doesn't sound great when your guy's taking an official to USC. I think Michigan can kind of ease a lot of concerns with a strong official visit.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's kind of the similar points that we hit on last week, but it's just important to get him again, more familiar with the staff, get him in front of some of these other recruits, because despite Will taking that visit to USC and possibly being open to some other schools or whatever, he is a good recruiter. He's been on some of these Zoom calls, as you've reported, with the Michigan staff when they're recruiting other guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So he's all in that aspect, and I think it's just getting him more and more involved in that throughout this process is going to keep him a little more solidified in this class. So obviously huge to have him back on campus. Probably not the last that Michigan will see of him here with visits. I'm sure he'll be there a ton in the fall and all of that. Probably hitting, he might as well have season tickets at this point, but he can get them for free. So Will Johnson, once again, heading to campus. And that leads us to talk about another 5-star, EJ. Walter Nolan, 5-star defensive tackle out of Tennessee. He's obviously a huge target. Michigan pushing super hard for him. He's been taking visits to schools in the South, including Florida a couple weeks ago. Michigan went down on June 1, the first day that the dead period was lifted, to see him at a satellite camp down in Memphis. So obviously making that push, as you can see there, pictured with Sean Nua, Michigan defensive line coach there. But Ron Bellamy leading the charge there as well. Obviously has ties. He played for the same high school coach, correct me if I'm wrong there, as Walter Nolan. So obviously has those ties to the South, being a Southern native from Louisiana. Your thoughts on Walter Nolan finally making his official visit up to Michigan? Huge that they were able to get this visit, because when you look at his schedule here for the month of June, a lot of Southern schools, and then Michigan. He visited Ohio State on his way up north here earlier this week, but heading to Michigan for his official.
Yeah, look, I mean, with Walter Nolan, it's going to be tough to pull him from the South. I mean, you had the schools you mentioned. Florida made a big impression on him on his official visit. Alabama has always been a constant. LSU, Georgia, Tennessee are all actively involved. But, there are a couple of things that are working in Michigan's favor. One is he has family in the Detroit metro area. His grandparents, so his mom's side of the family, live in the area. They've made a self-guided tour in the off season before the dead period, and actually stayed there for a while, and just got Walter got a chance to get a feel for kind of the city, Ann Arbor, got to walk around campus and just be in the actual state of Michigan. And it's kind of the same thing on the official visit. They got up there early, spending more time with the family. And Walter's always told me he'd love to play in front of his grandparents. The other thing that's working in Walter's favor is just his mom. I mean, she really loves Michigan. There are some alums in his family on his mom's side, and she really knows the value of what Michigan can offer off the field with their 40-year plan that I mentioned, the strong academics, just the overall degree. So those things are something that's really appealing to his family. For Walter himself, he knows he has a chance to come in, join Will Johnson as the star of the class, and maybe not just be another guy at Alabama, to actually be kind of one of the faces of the franchise, to come in and play as a true freshman and be a difference maker for the winningest program of all time that's trying to get back on track. And then lastly, Michigan's done a really good job of selling the name, image, likeness. Walter is a recruit that can obviously benefit off of that. If some people have seen, they've sent him graphics with the number 0, calling him Big Zero and all of that. So that's a big factor for Walter as well. So I think the key things for this official visit with Walter is just selling him on the fact that he can leave the South and be that big name guy. 2, winning over his father. His father likes Michigan, but I'm not so sure from my conversations with him that he is fully embracing Michigan just yet. And then lastly, I think just him being around some of the commits, and some of the players, and kind of getting a feel for guys he would be joining if he were to go further away from home.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think name, image, and likeness is something that Michigan has to lean into in a recruitment, especially like this, like Walter Nolan. He can be the face. I mean, he's even said it, reading some of the quotes that he's talked about, basically that there's not a ton of defensive tackles. We talked about this too, and why it was so important for Michigan to land Rayshon Benny in the 2021 cycle, because there's not many elite defensive tackles in the Midwest, and there are, a lot of those guys down in the South. So Walter Nolan could come up and be kind of a rare breed for Michigan in a scheme that really, really needs defensive tackles, especially big bodies in there to eat up some blockers. So that's got to be the pitch. Probably will be the pitch, and we'll see how it resonates with the Nolan family here this weekend. Another guy coming up, traveling a little bit of a ways, 4-star defensive end Mario Eugenio out of Tampa. He is an intriguing prospect. He's also friends with Deion Walker. I don't know how they're friends, but from 4-star defensive tackle out of Detroit Cass Tech, a guy who is one of the top of the board guys at defensive tackle. He told me when I talked to him at the Under Armour camp down in Columbus a couple months ago that he showed the Michigan staff some film of Mario Eugenio and tried to push them to offer him. They loved the film and they ended up offering him, and now that they're pursuing him. So that resonated really well with Deion Walker, and obviously he said it showed that they kind of respect his opinion. They're listening to what he's saying in these calls. They're not just sitting there on a Zoom call. They're really interested in what he has to say, and also it shows that they really like Mario Eugenio as well, and it's obviously important to get him up to campus.
Yeah, Mario's a really, really, like you said, intriguing prospect. He's a guy that can be that edge rusher. So Ryan Osborne hasn't been involved in his recruitment, but he's a guy that can play with his hand in the dirt and be more of one of those 3-4 ends. So Mike McDonald and Sean Nua have been involved there too. And like you said, he's good friends with Deion Walker. Deion's coming in for an unofficial visit this weekend, so he won't be part of the official visitors group, but he will be coming in for an unofficial visit. He is really good friends with Eugenio. They actually did a couple of training sessions together, if I'm not mistaken, and that's kind of how they got connected. Deion, spends quite a bit of time traveling around the country, visiting schools and getting out to different camps and stuff. So I think they just kind of connected in that way. I have not had a chance to see Mario with my own eyes. Unfortunately, he's one of the prospects that I really, really do want to see. But just on film, you can tell he's a little on the underrated side just because he brings so much to the table. He's long been a top priority for Michigan. And, I think Michigan may even have the edge going into this visit, and they can really confirm themselves as the leaders or the team to beat in this recruitment with a strong official visit.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see, him come up from Tampa, get to see Deion Walker, get to see the Michigan staff. Where would you have him rated? Because he's just on the edge there. He's a Rivals 250 kid. Obviously, like you said, you haven't had that in-person evaluation, but what's kind of your gut feeling in the hundreds somewhere for him?
Yeah, I think he's kind of risen up the rankings a little bit just based off of his camp performances. He's had a really, really good offseason. So I think he has the chance to be in that 150 to 200 range. But I would love to see him in person first before, kind of making that claim. But I know Michigan really, really values him, and he's not just a top overall guy, on the defensive end board or edge rusher board, wherever they see him. But from an overall standpoint, he's a true priority in the class.
There you have it. So Mario Eugenio coming up. George Pettaway is another guy, 4-star running back out of Suffolk, Virginia, kind of Southern Virginia there. Mike Hart, obviously the running backs coach there. He has some ties to Virginia. He's recruited the D.C. area a little bit at some of his stops, including Indiana, but this obviously Southern Virginia, so a little bit different. What are your thoughts on him making it in? Michigan landing Donovan Edwards in the last cycle, so it's kind of one of those things, and we've obviously talked about this quite a bit, but does a guy want to follow more of an elite type of back like a Donovan Edwards? Obviously, George Pettaway is highly ranked, near the top 100, so he kind of has that pedigree, but what are your thoughts on him coming up?
Yeah, so I got a chance to see George live last summer at the Under Armour camp in Delaware. Michigan offered him early, even before Mike Hart joined the staff, obviously. So they really, really liked his game. He has really good speed. He's quick. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I think he can complement a bigger back like Donovan, who, is a 3-down back. He can still catch passes and everything. But I think adding that, more speed, more quickness element, you can pair those guys together. And it's a weak year at the running back position. So Pettaway is, I believe, the highest ranked of the running back targets on Michigan's board right now. But I really like him overall as a player. His recruitment's been a little quiet. George is kind of quiet by nature, but he is interested in playing in the Big Ten. He really likes both Michigan and Penn State. I know, North Carolina has been considered the favorite by some and is very high on his list as well. There are a few other schools that are high on the list as well. But I feel like Michigan has a legitimate chance to make a move here. And again, in a weak year at running back, I think landing George Pettaway would be huge to pair with Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, no question about it. Last guy, Justice Finkley, a 4-star defensive tackle out of Trussville, Alabama. Another guy. He's ranked 179th in the country, so highly ranked. Another defensive tackle from the South like Walter Nolan. Your thoughts on him coming up? Because, Michigan, I guess they can't put all their eggs in one basket with Walter Nolan, considering the schools that he's considering. So obviously another good option here.
Yeah, Finkley is a really productive high school player, great motor, lives in opposing teams' backfield. The biggest knock on Finkley and why, despite him being pretty highly ranked, like you said, in the around 179, I think he said, despite being highly ranked, he doesn't necessarily have those big schools after him. Texas is a school in the mix. Colorado hosted him for an official visit. But the biggest knock on Finkley is just height and length. But from a production standpoint, it's definitely there. He's a guy that would fit the scheme well, whether it's at one of those end spots or maybe even bulking up and being a nose. But I think they really like him at one of those end spots with his hand in the dirt. And like I said, he has a really good motor. He's a productive high school player, despite not having the ideal height and length. There's a lot to like about his game. He's a smart kid off the field as well. I believe his mother is a doctor, so he really values academics, and he's very, very open to leaving the South. He has a good connection with the coaching staff, particularly Sean Larkins, Michigan's new director of recruiting, who has deep ties in the state of Alabama and is kind of leading that charge for Michigan down there. So I think Michigan has a legitimate chance to land Finkley. I think they've been right up there on the verge of taking the lead for him for quite a while. So it's a big chance to really surge up there and claim that pole position with him.
There you have it, the 5 most important Michigan visitors this weekend as things starting to heat up here. Victor's weekend in Ann Arbor at the football facility, Schembechler Hall. They'll get the full tour of the big house and all that. EJ, tell the people why they should subscribe to the Wolverine.com to get all your premium info, because coming out of last weekend, the info was flowing pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah, we had a ton coming out of last weekend. We had official visit recaps with most of the guys that were on campus, thoughts from parents, trainers, people that were with them, intel from the Michigan side. You can find all of that at the Wolverine, and of course, we're always around to answer your questions on the famous Fort message board.
There you go, and none of these recruits either. They cannot wear red in the building either. So just looking at Justice Finkley there, he will have to. He can't wear that jersey that he's wearing. So it'll be this is going to be an interesting one, and we'll have a ton of info over at thewolverine.com. Again, promo code BLUE60 allows you to try us out for 60 days, absolutely free. We will see everyone on the next video.